Welcome to Dairyland Unscripted, a commemorative podcast hosted by me, Pat Conley. All right, good morning. Episode number 4, Dairyland Unscripted. Pretty cool how we do this. Episode 1 was me. Episode 2 was 2 people. Episode 3 was 3 people.
4.
Oh, we got 4.
It's growing. Yeah, it's growing. Yeah, it's
You're going to
cool.
need more mics.
We're going to need more mics and more space and all that. With me today, I'll go from the right to the left. Andrew Bremseth, City Administrator, Fergus Falls. To my left here, we have Ryan Tungseth with Sign Guys and a couple other businesses throughout town. We get to share that. And further to my left, again to my south, is Tara Kempfer from InVision. So people ask, well, how do you get these kind of people here, and what does that have to do with Dairyland? It has nothing to do with making hamburgers, making grilled cheese sandwiches and all that, but it has everything to do with our community connections, which is really kind of cool, I think, is that if we didn't have these connections, sure, I could make a good hamburger and so on, but I would just be pumping them through the drive-thru and that's it. There wouldn't be the conversations that we get to share. Ryan, I think last year, I remember specifically having a conversation with your family and your daughter. It might have been just you and your daughter, and you had just gotten back from the lake and you had your boat back here.
Yeah.
And those conversations. That's the cool things. I can't tell you how many times Tara and I have had discussions as she's coming in to order a grilled cheese sandwich through drive-thru. Sunday nights, your ice cream treats with your family, the dog treating back and so on. Those things, that's what makes, when we say unscripted, the Dairyland Unscripted, every single day is different here. And every single day is different here in our community. And finding that balance of how we bring everyone together and make something special. So I guess I'm gonna just open up the floor of the tables, the nice crooked tables from improvising, but open that up just for discussion today. So I guess I'll just say thoughts.
Yeah. Well, first, maybe I'll just kick us off. Thanks for having us. I think what a unique group of people in the same room, and
Right.
you know, truly unscripted. None of us have notes. We have no idea where this is going, but I think we're going to find our direction. Because it's called the Dairyland Podcast, I want to first start by saying Dairyland is much more than just hamburgers. As somebody who grew up here in Fergus Falls, I have a lot of memories in this small space. Coloring on the windows, writing things on the windows. Sometimes maybe not appropriate things on the windows.
We had to.
Pat had to come and erase some, right? But you know, that was always a highlight of summer and childhood, is, you know, writing on the windows in Dairyland. Got to get a spot inside and do that. I have fond memories of the car hop. I had an older sibling that worked here probably 30 years ago at this point now. I mean, it's been many, maybe at the beginning of your guys' time.
It's been 28 years.
28 years. So
Yeah.
a lot of memories here. So it is much more than hamburgers. It is a fabric of the community, and you know, an important part of our community. So happy to be part of this, and that's maybe the Dairyland connection. But beyond that, I think you're exactly right, Pat. There's so many things, so much potential in this community. We've talked a lot kind of off air about, we're at a kind of a pivotal time where you see one generation of leaders kind of phasing out, whether they're passing on or they're moving into retirement. And we see this kind of sweet spot now with the 30 to 45, 50-year-olds that are realizing that they now have the ability and the potential to make their mark on the community and decide how the next 10, 20, 30 years are going to go.
Mm-hmm. A quick side note, talking about coloring on the windows. You did that as a kid, and then as you got older, there might be a little note saying, party at someone's house.
Yeah. I hope my parents aren't watching right now.
and sometimes, not very often, but we may see a police officer come through and kind of smile and order an ice cream cone and then look at the window. I never ratted anybody out. I remember a time where we, across the way in the Triangle Park, we did National Night Out, a citywide block party, and at one time we had probably 1,100 people in this section. And we had the mayor in the dunk tank. We had Ed Mell from Otter Tail Power, or from Lake Region Hospital at the time, in the dunk tank. We had McFarland in the dunk tank. We had a police officer in the dunk tank. And now we see, this is where we talk about the pivotal. We would get into trouble probably if we tried to put a police officer in a dunk tank. The respect that we've lost. But we're in a small community where we can still say, you know what? No, that engagement is good.
Absolutely.
That engagement is good. So to draw off of those childhood memories and realize now we're the adults that maybe let some of that stuff happen that shouldn't have in our adult lives, and how do we tell those kids that, man, you know, that generational gap, we need to bring it back together and make it kind of not a generation, but generations working together.
And they're watching. Those kids and teens and those young adults are watching how we've led and how we've led by example, how we've done it well and maybe not so well. And your reach just isn't Fergus either. So you know, when I have patients come into my clinic, our outreach is pretty far. So we've got kids from even as far as St. Cloud. They are excited when we're done because they know they're coming here, and they often will look to you or to Jean to touch base and say, hey, we just had our eyes checked. And many times you guys are so welcoming, you bring them back and let them make their own ice cream cones. So you're not just impacting Fergus, but beyond that too.
Well, when we first moved back to Fergus, I grew up here, but we moved back as a family in 2011. We were 3 blocks down the road.
Right?
So this was our Friday night, or our come up here for when we didn't want to make dinner. It was probably more than Friday night, to be honest. Lots of deluxe cheeseburgers, Pat.
Yeah. Right.
But it was always the conversation. You always engaged the kids. You always talked with us. And at the time, I think you were still on the city council. So we often engaged in that conversation. It was a way of integrating that. When I moved back, it was to run the golf course here. So I was involved in having to come talk in front of you and report stuff and those things. So it was nice to have that outside conversation too, and kind of get
Sure.
more welcomed into the business community coming back from the Twin Cities.
We want people to feel comfortable. We don't want, you know, the Pat Conleys to not be approachable. You're very approachable. And just to make sure that people know that we can reach out and talk to anybody in town that is a leader, not a leader, or not to be afraid to come chit chat.
Even though I've been a businessman in Fergus all these years, I'm kind of an outside business person to some people. I don't do well with clicks. I don't do well with networks that are exclusive. I break into them. How do we take our businesses, our professions, our passion for the community into a way where people don't simply say, I love Fergus Falls because the Viking is there. I love Fergus Falls because XYZ is there. We want everyone to be able to have that, I love Fergus Falls. Gary Spees, philanthropist, awesome business person, superman of character. Andrew, you talked about it, aged out.
Mm-hmm.
Our time on earth is limited. So when a philanthropist like him, that's a void that, like, wow, it's like sucking air out of our community for a while. And we can't just take a magic pill. You said that last week when you and I were visiting. We can't just take a magic pill and say, Gary's replaced. Snip, snap, nope. Just like that, we can't. I think many people would say Gary was that foundation. He would argue it. Gary, not me, man. I'm just one man. He would say that. He's such a humble guy. But if we take a big look at some of the things in town, he had assisted in so many, many things.
You don't have to think of it as philanthropy with money. You can invest your time, you can volunteer, just start small, sit down at the table and start listening and asking questions and providing some solutions. Even if you think they're crazy or off the wall, start there, because you don't go from here to there in a day. And I think people are maybe intimidated to think, well, I can't do that. But in reality, all of us can just sit down and start sharing.
Right,
Yeah.
be present.
Right.
And it sounds really cliche, but it truly does take everyone. And Gary would say as much, right? If Gary were here today, he would downplay his impact. Of course, we all know that about Gary, or we knew that about Gary. But he would also be the first one to say, when you peeled back the layers, that everybody plays a role, right? Gary's work and impact doesn't mean anything if everybody else isn't involved in some way. It's engaging the right people at the right time. It's utilizing their strengths or what they do have to give, whether it's time or resources. And I think as a city, you know, and somebody who represents the city, we are a stronger city and a stronger community when people are energized and engaged.
We teach all of our staff, like, be leaders, get out there, and we empower them to go out and make that change. Yes, we're business owners. Yes, we start a business, but we open doors too for other people so that we can mentor them or give them ideas or open that space for them to figure out what skill set they can bring.
There's so many people who are involved, that want to be involved, that want to see change. There's definitely been transition in the last year here. But I think that transition leads to opportunity, right? So I am super excited to see what comes from the next 5 years. What does change? We like to point out the bad things, right? I think that's normal as human. Like, it's easy to just say, we don't like how this works, or we don't like this thing, we don't like where that's going. And it's hard to say, this was a great win, or this is some way we need to go, or this is an ideal thing that's happening here in Fergus, and praising that, it's easier to point out.
To critique.
Yeah, to critique. It was brought up to me recently, like, sometimes we get so caught up in complaining about the streets and the potholes, and then when they're getting fixed, we want to get caught up in complaining about the construction.
And how we paid for it.
And how we pay for it.
And that's where, if we collaborate, we can get so much more done than finger pointing.
And it can be as simple as making sure you pick up the phone and call the right person.
Yes.
And not,
Yeah.
you know, I'll see something on Facebook and you ask a chit chat group, a question that only somebody that does this work or like a specific person at the city could answer. And if you really want to solve that issue, pick up the phone and call the right person, or come see the right person, get that answer.
My menu was a monster at one time. Too many things, too much. And then you kind of dial it in a little bit, and as we dial it in, Tara and I was talking about it earlier, certain sandwiches get cut, which means some people feel as though they're left out. You took away my KC ham and cheese. And we bring it back on Throwback Thursday, and holy smokes, everybody gets the KC ham and cheese. So excitement, so much excitement. And I think that's, again, where we're at in our community, is that, yeah, we've had some garbage happen, right? And we'd feel like in that garbage happening, things have been taken away. But they've only been taken away on that first layer.
Yeah.
They really are. If we get back to the core of the matter and dig deep into what was really important, memorable event from Dairyland, it's touching, it's sad, it's so cool at the same time. Classic car show. Cars were lined up. One of what we would remember as being the busiest car show attendance showed up, and sun is setting. Local friends were sitting there, and the wife of a friend says, "Look at Herb over there. He looks so peaceful."
Oh.
Herb died amongst his friends. When we look at how we do things, what comes to mind for me, I hear it, stewardship. Big word. Our church we go to has an annual stewardship drive. They do not say, "Give me money." Time, talent, treasure. Usually when you do the time and the talent, the people with treasure buy into it.
Right.
If you're not showing the time and the talent, those guys are going somewhere else. I'm going to use Herb Brooks' quote from Miracle on Ice, 1980, when he gives his locker room speech. And he says, "I'm sick of hearing about Russians this, Russians that."
It's our time.
Right, you got it. Okay, well, it's our time. Well, here's my thought last night when I left the meeting. Hearing us as business people, as community people saying it's better in DL, it's better in Alexandria, it's better in Perham, it's better in Dent, it's better wherever.
It's not.
I don't care.
Yeah.
And sorry, folks from those towns, that when you see this, it's because of your passion and your success
Yeah.
that we're looking somewhere else.
And it's here, like we have that purpose and passion here, but how do we tap into it so there's more people at the table and not just a few of us?
Right,
Yeah.
right, right.
And I think that's one of those human nature things too. And in my line of work, I talk to colleagues from all these communities weekly, right? All the time. That's who I interact with. And they hear the same narrative in their communities about Fergus Falls. So, you know, we have that like bias of seeing this, you know, you kind of just blends in the good, the amenities, the fun, the things that really are unique to Fergus Falls and make our community so great. We have a good thing going here in Fergus Falls. We are a victim of our own mindsets in a lot of ways and a lot of times. And sometimes it takes just taking a step back and realizing that, looking at that. But I get reassured and energized and motivated every time I talk to my colleagues and they say, well, geez, you guys, why do you keep building all these great things? We can't get anything done here. We would love to have a splash pad or a pool or you know, why is your town so beautiful? We get criticized about ours, and those are the narratives in these other towns as well. To be completely honest, we are being recognized in the region by people of having a lot going on. You know, the Saturday morning farmers market, the energy and the buzz downtown, the vibrancy. You see people and hear people coming from Fargo-Moorhead just to check that out. I drove through the parking lot one Saturday morning here in the last 2 weeks, and I saw plates from Nebraska, Iowa, Kansas, Wisconsin, South Dakota. I think more plates from other states than Minnesota, which I thought was super cool and really, you know, things that we've been aiming for a long time. And those are opportunities, right? Those are people that are going to go back and spread the word and bring economic opportunities now and into the future.
Right. Sunday night, that's our Sunday night. If you look at our drive-through. Drive-through, most of them, if there's a boat, it'll be North Dakota. But if it's just the drive-through, it'll be our locals.
Yep.
Parked on the perimeter, North Dakota, South Dakota, Iowa, Kansas. I had someone from Colorado came in this week wanting to move to Fergus Falls because of the positive reviews on Google. I'm like, whoa, what did they see that we didn't see? You know, we sometimes tend to focus on, but it's so comforting to hear when you say colleagues. Brian next door, he's a colleague of mine. Dave Schrader from Perks, colleague of mine. They're not competition. Now, I might have told Dave, don't sell a blended iced coffee in your spot when we were selling ours.
Friendly banter.
There may have been some banter. I can remember telling.
Competition makes you better too.
It
I mean,
does.
it makes you step up your game and really look at yourself of what am I doing? What can I do better? And it's a good thing.
Yeah. Pizza Heaven, whenever we did our menu, the next year, they'd copy the font in the background. I don't know if they did or not. I thought they
It's the
did.
best form of flattery, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, yep.
And Chuck would say, then make a better menu. Okay, so we'd make a better menu. We'd trim it down a little bit, and then I'd go in and get my ice cream, and I love their subs. And there's a tradition with Joe and with Brianna. We would do that, and Brianna would say, menu looks the same. And I don't even know if I ever shared that with the Pizza Heaven owners, but they raised me, Dairyland, to a higher standard.
Awesome.
I can tell you right now that very, very, very few people will see me in blue jeans when I'm working, because the people above me never did. Nothing wrong with blue jeans at all. It's just that that's what I took. That's a little nugget that I took. And I think when you say people are watching, yeah, one of these episodes that we do is going to just honor mentors that loved on me since I was 10 when my dad died. I can tell you stuff we do here every day. A direct tribute to Father Brenny, who took the time to play racquetball with me on Wednesdays when we had early out from school, because I went to the Catholic school. What does a kid do who lost his dad, and his classmates are going to do stuff, but he's missing his dad? What does he do? The priest takes him to play racquetball. Sherman Brown taught me how to field baseball. how to turn which way to catch a fly ball over your left shoulder, which way to catch it over your right shoulder, which way to turn. Those things today, when I go through my methodical business stuff, my swing that Chuck taught me, that rhythm, that same thing, same swing every single time, you get that rhythm. Rod Carew did it and so on. We have that rhythm in our business. Our travel paths that we make, not just around our property, but around our community. When I wrote my Dairyland book, the Dairyland book, my 8th grade English teacher would have been Mrs. Brown. Everybody hated her. I loved her because she shared in the passion that her husband did for us. And then 9th and 10th grade English, Chris Ayler. See where this goes?
Yep.
See where this goes? I didn't even know if Chris read my book. I don't know. I can tell you that Mrs. Brown did from heaven. I know she did. I know dang well that she did, and she's smiling down. That's what we want to have. And I haven't thought of Mrs. Brown, honestly, I haven't thought of her for 30 years. But when I bring her up, that spidey tingly that you get, the love that you feel, that's what we want to do. That's who we want to be, I think. Each have our own names. What do you guys think?
I think what you're describing is community, right? That's your individual experience, but that's what builds a community, is the people that mentor the next generation. How do we step up and be that for the next person, right? Because you feel the impact 40, 50, 60 years later. I don't know how old you are, and I'm not saying you're that old, but you feel that impact so deeply that you get goosebumps over it, right? And we all have those stories. So anybody watching, how do you become that for somebody, the next generation? How do you become a resource? How do you become
I think
a colleague?
through storytelling is part of that, to kind of open up those doors. And I think a lot of people that are mentors don't consider themselves as mentors. So how do we remind those people that, hey, people are looking up to you. You are leading by example.
Exactly.
I go back to the negativity set. Like, how do we tell those positive stories? How do we share that side? Like, because that is what stands out. If you only talk, if we can focus on how we can lead through that positive side, and also not be concerned only about ourselves. Like, how do we help others? How do we, through community, promote others, help others grow, help others succeed? The people that you talk about didn't just care about what happened for them. They cared about what you were doing or what was going next. And that clean slate, we're in that opportunity here in our town now where we can really step up on that. And we've seen a lot of that too.
I think we have to
What's
figure
gonna
out
happen.
how, that old cliche again, is how to share the wins. I think as Midwesterns, we're pretty stoic. We don't like to pat ourselves on the back, but we have to share our wins to show other people why we stay here, why we've been here for 20 years, 50 years, whatever.
I'm going to piggyback off that. Going back to your colleagues, I do think it's important to look at other communities around and say what's good, what do we like about them, and how do we make that happen here? Yep. For me, like if I think DL, I love DL's downtown. How can we pull some of that downtown into our downtown, right? Or how can we take some of the marketing that Alexandria's done and market some business from there? But we can't. It's when you get caught up in that comparison and saying, oh, we're not, like how can we work with those colleagues and say what works? So what worked for you? How do we bring that here?
Yeah.
How can we pull some of those? And it is easy to get myopic and say, everything's terrible here, only look at the bad and what's going on. And we need to champion those wins, I think is important.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's part of what you're doing here with this pact. I think it's great to
Scary.
How do we get them to the table?
We teach them.
Do they want to be taught?
That's it. That's
Yeah.
the scary thing. Is how do they want to be taught? I'm hearing two things. One, that everybody wants to feel valued
Yeah.
and appreciated.
And heard.
Yeah, and heard. Jean doesn't have a microphone today. She threw it out and heard. Yeah, so important that we have a voice. We talk about the underserved. We talk about that people on the sidelines wishing they could be part of it. How many times in a day do we walk past someone because we're so focused and so driven to our next thing that because we're busy, Tara, you mentioned that how many times do we let our lives become busy
Versus productive.
that we don't stop
Yeah.
and just become productive?
Yeah.
And that productive could simply be if I'm being busy picking up the garbage floating around the parking lot, could I be productive by grabbing 2 neighbor kids and handing them a bag, showing them what needs to be picked up, and buying them a cycle? We used to do that. We used to do that. The Throwback Thursday things we're doing now, we used to do on a daily basis, but we got to become too busy that our grill got too small. We couldn't put the ham on the KC ham and cheese. We had to get rid of that sandwich because we got too busy selling hamburgers. But when we go back to our roots and we bring back that KC, everybody bought that KC, everybody loved it, and we didn't sell any hamburgers, you know. But it was like, wow, but that excitement.
And the point you make too is we can't be everything to everyone. So we have to figure out as a community, what do we want?
Right. Kelly Chandler, if you're listening and watching, Kelly, you can correct me, grew up or worked at where Edward Jones sits now, Farmer State Bank sits. That used to be North Union, Texaco. He worked there as a kid, came here. That's how the sandwich came about. The banter between him and the owner. We still have that banter between, Kelly has that banter with me a little bit. Conley, bring back my stupid sandwich. And we do, and he's like, the conversation we shared when we did was emotional. It was like, really? We're both going to kind of get a little bit teary-eyed on this? Come on, really? It's a sandwich. But it was not just a sandwich. And Kelly can go back now and he can put it on Facebook if he wants to. He can do it with his friends when he's golfing. Whatever he does, he can say, you know what, for one day in 2025, the Dairyland guys showed they still value me. And that is told to his grandkids. It's told to his community because he doesn't live in Fergus. That part is where we have to really stop and think, how do we recognize that and then honor it?
I like the word values and community values and talking about some of that stuff. One thing I do want to say is, you know, there's certainly frustrations when people are posting negativity online, and you just want to say, you know, the image that we give our community is really self-inflicted, right? It's we control the narrative as members of the community, and we can choose to be positive. But the one thing I will say, and I truly believe, is that every person who expresses an opinion, whether it's negative or positive, feels a certain way, wants their community to be a certain way, and is well-intentioned to create the community that they see aligned with their values. So I think somebody said it earlier, every time we have that conflict, it's opportunity, right? And that's where I see you can turn kind of a negative into a positive with some of this stuff that's happening. Is to your point earlier, Terrence, how do you engage those people? How do you figure out what their values are, and how do you create a community that values those things or is centered around those values, but is unique, right? We don't want to be the same as, I agree with you, Ryan, we take the good things from other communities, but then we maintain that unique identity.
For the people that are doing that and volunteering their time and are passionate about it, to realize those people aren't in that position to have it their way or to make it this way. It's they're passionate and they love their community and they want to make it better. That's why they're doing that. And most people that are in those type of positions are doing that volunteering. They have a different business, they have a different job, they're doing something else. They do that on the side to make their community better.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
As we sit here today, you can't see it from where we sit, but it's intentional that the table is here rather than us sitting at a booth where it's more comfortable and we would be looking across from each other. The reason we chose not to is, as we sit here right now, I just counted 8 cars.
been nonstop.
Non-stop, all day long.
There goes a truck
There
of turkeys.
goes turkeys. There goes that. Back in 1970, this strip was even busier because we didn't have an interstate. Semis came by. Once our bypasses came about, semis stopped. People coming from Breckenridge, Wahpeton, from, get my directions straight now, from eastern North Dakota that were coming this way, the bypasses, in essence, created an opportunity for us to be bypassed. And we kind of sit back and let it happen. This is a city gripe of mine that I've never taken ownership of because I don't know how to. But the things that we can control as those bypasses happen, and it's not city, but it's stopping and looking and paying attention, is, and I have it happening right here in our store right now, something as simple as weeds. Something as simple as weeds that I can't stay on top of back by my office. I weed whack them in the little things in our store. I know most people don't see that, they don't see it, but I wonder sometimes, like when I saw it last night at an intersection where there is a bypass in our community, and the weeds are pretty high. It's not your fault. It's not. I could go out there with a weed whacker and in 20 minutes, done, problem solved. Then I face the repercussions of people saying, Connolly, what the heck are you doing? Right? But should I care? Right? Should I care? Or does it help maybe me saying this right now, that someone doesn't just gripe and say the city's budgeting wrong and they're not doing things correctly? That's a bunch of hooey. It really is when you say that. When you have a weed whacker, you have time, so you've got the time, you've got the treasure in the weed whacker, you have the talent because your mouth is telling you know how to do it. Right? Don't edit that one out. That's going to stay. Right? But we can laugh at it, but as we laugh at it, we stop and we listen.
Yeah.
Right? And we
the fact
talked
that
about...
you notice that means you care. You
Yeah.
care. So how do we get people to care?
Exactly.
And I appreciate how delicate that was, I really do. We can always do better and improve, but I will not yell at you if you bring the weed whacker out there and take care of it.
Right. I don't have a gentle term. That might just be arrogant. They might have an attitude that I don't understand. That's as gentle as I can get. They become confrontational. They become argumentative. And then we have to stop, and when we listen, do we absorb it or do we deflect it? We can't personalize it. That we can't do. Because if that, Brother Chuck says all the time to me, Patrick, misery loves company, just not here. Don't become miserable.
Right.
Don't let that happen. So that we can always, with our character, with our integrity, I don't know many Debbie and Danny Downers. I really don't. I really don't. I see them, but I think just by us being positive and upbeat, it's exhausting, don't you think? Sometimes trying to find the positive all the time, trying to be, "Whoo, this is hopeful." And you're like, oh, our dog said that the other day. We brought Nala to the dog out swimming at Hoot Lake on the culvert where the current's coming, and the more she paddled, the further she got away. She was having so much fun, but she was so scared. It was such hard work doing something. That's how we feel sometimes, right? That we're in that current, and we don't realize it. If you just shift off to the side a little bit, you're going to settle, you're going to be able to stop and listen, observe, and then regroup.
So I think when you talk about listening too, we need to listen to learn, not just listen to respond. And that's a hard thing for people to do, really hard.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Looking for an opportunity to interject our idea, our experience, when it was, they were maybe burying their heart.
One of the unique things about what you do at Dairyland or even City Hall is that one interaction could be the only interaction that person has all day. Could be the most meaningful interaction. It could be one of a million for you, but just giving them the attention or the time for that, just quick second could make or break their whole day.
Right.
How you respond in that moment is going to impact other people, whether we realize it or not. And so being mindful of that is especially when we know we're going to interact with a lot of people. I think all of us on a daily basis do. You know, that's where it is exhausting. You can't slip up, so to speak.
Because you're on all
You're
the
on.
time.
Right.
All the time.
But you can make such a difference.
Right. The sign in the office says, always behave like a duck, calm on the surface, and paddle like crazy underwater. But I appreciate that sign and I hate that sign. Because sometimes I just want to scream. I don't want to be calm. I don't want to. And then you take that deep breath, but you want to realize that everyone that we encounter every single day, they're paddling. They're paddling. They really are. And for us to be able to when we stop, stop, children, what's that sound? Everybody hear what's going, whatever. That sound, stop and listen, right? I think that might have been a political song back in its era. But when you listen to it now, they tell us to stop and slow down.
Karaoke next podcast.
No, I'm terrible. No, negative on that one. Yeah. We always play the game up here. We try to stick a song in someone's head. So we know lots of songs that have catchy tunes so that they whistle that all day long during the show. Stuck ya. Yeah.
Question for you, Andrew. What do you see as somebody, now with your city hat on, as community members, what can we do to help? That's kind of a loaded question, but what can we do as business owners, leaders, just regular people to help?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I don't know that I have the answer for it, which is why a lot of the things I said today were kind of like we need to do, or like more leading, and then I was just kind of listening to what you guys had to say, because I don't have the solution, but being an informed and educated resident is the first step, right? Knowing what's happening, finding ways that you can provide your input. City specific, we have boards and commissions that are citizen driven and that we encourage people to sign up for, and that's how you can put your mark on the local government per se. But I don't have a good answer for the community side of things, because I think that it takes everybody to really step up, and one of the things that I think we're realizing in real time here is how valuable our business owners can be to setting the tone, setting the stage, and then driving us forward. And back, I'm heavily focused on economic development, certainly now, but always have been. And the biggest and best thing you can do to recruit is to have the people that are in the trenches, so to speak, have a good narrative, right? You don't look at these people as competition. You look at them as colleagues, or as ways to improve the community. And all of us, I think, have had conversations about how important it is for everybody to be involved, business owners, in that recruitment process. It is harder than ever to recruit new business. Economically, people can access anything from anywhere in the world. I mean, some of the dynamics have shifted so much, and you have to find ways to set yourself apart. There's grassroots efforts happening in various areas of the community on multiple different fronts. That's how things get done. I mean, you look at the aquatic center that we just kicked off this summer. That was many, many years in the making. The group that finally got it to the finish line, they started in 2016, but this goes back 30 years, and this is organic, grassroots, mostly mothers, right? But moms and dads who say, hey, we want this as an amenity, and we want this for our community where we raise our kids and have those memories and all those things, and they got it done. They got the community to buy into it. And if you asked any of them, it's a lot of work, it's exhausting, it takes longer than it needs to in some ways, but how rewarding when you finally get there. And honestly, that's what it takes to create community. You can point to just about any good thing that's going on and realize that it started with probably 2 people or 3 or 4 people sitting around a table like this, having a discussion, and then just keep picking the pieces or peeling the layers back, get the right people involved, create that energy. And I think Fergus is good at that, and they're going to continue to do that.
You brought up the economic development side, and I think that's where we've all worked a lot together on. to me, I think from a business owner side, the more we can attract people, like how do we attract people to want to be here? You talked about somebody from Colorado who wants to move here. Saying, like, what can we do to just attract people to here and let them lead, let them develop? I don't think we're going to attract a whole lot of smokestacks we're not going to pull 1,000-person business to Fergus Falls. Be great, right? But how do we attract talented people to here? It might be the cost of living. You mentioned you can do anything from anywhere. Well, you can work anywhere from here.
Absolutely.
Right? So how do we attract that talent to here that's a cheaper cost of living? There's lakes right here. Or what are those amenities? The aquatic center, the Speece Park, take advantage of the river. And how do we promote those things as business owners to help people realize this is a place I would want to live? My wife and I, every time we travel, we think about the town like, oh, we'd love to live here. What does it look like to live here? And you kind of weigh that, and then you get home for us, and we're like, oh, no. I like that I can walk to Dairyland. I like that we walk our utility bills to City Hall once a month. Like, that's one of our walks, to drop them in the drop box, because you guys don't give us envelopes. There's my complaint, Andrew. But I'm just giving you a hard time.
We will soon have a system where you can get e-bills and opt out of the paper.
Oh, there we go. All right.
We're going in the right direction.
But we like our walk.
Yeah.
It's a small town.
Yeah.
Like, those are opportunities that you can do here. Like, it's a very walkable community, except in January, right? But even then, we still walk. But.
As we share the stories, one that comes to me that's right up front recently would be of a story of me when I was in college at St. John's, St. Ben's University. This past spring, when we did the OLV fish fry here, community thing, volunteers and so on, so fun. There's 50 million, in my mind, stories that came out of that one event. But one that really, really hits home for me is when I looked across the way and I saw the St. John's St. Ben's bus with orchestra students on it show up and come here for an OLV fish fry, community fish fry, because they were looking for something that was a Friday night Catholic thing and so on. But to be able to, as busy as we were, we had WDAY was here, right? Just a little dinky Dairyland, right? Little small town Fergus Falls, whatever you want to say. The friendship that Kevin Wallivand and I are slowly building, just through the interactions here, but to listen. We're busy. I stopped, let the volunteers do their things, and to be able to go out and talk to the students and have a conversation with them as they get a photo op by Charlie Brown and do their thing. But to hear one kid say they really enjoyed being on the St. John's Leadership Challenge course, something or another, a couple weeks prior. And I smiled and I said, I built that. Because I did when I was in college there. I went to college there. And as a sophomore, I was part of the group that built it from the ground up, that did the facilitating, the coordinating, the bringing in the IBMs to go through this challenge course, and so on, and seeing that. And, well, I'm doing my 40-year high school class reunion this year, so 35 years later from college, having these students come in and say they participated on something that I had my fingers in. When you talk about these moms with the pools, so the hard energy, it stunk for me to have to build that wall. It did, because I should have been studying. I was almost on academic probation. I didn't have a girlfriend. All these things that I didn't have, but I did have time, I had talent, and treasure was my heart to help. And 35 years later, you see the benefit, the comeback and all that. These moms that retired and getting this to go through, they say it's hard work, I'll never do that again. I say baloney, you will. Because you're going to see 5 years from now, 10 years from now, Being 30, you're not having children from now, but you're going to see this, and it's like, wow, that started, and it was because of the grassroots effort that did it. It might have been one or two people that did the initial heavy lifting, but if they didn't maintain the wall at St. John's, if they didn't retain the other things that were part of that challenge course these last 30 years, it's long, tall weeds. That's probably why I don't like weeds in town, honestly, because if we maintain the simple things and stay focused on those simple things, our challenges aren't that hard.
Right. Yep.
They're not. It's combating the things that we just let get out of control because we weren't attentive. What Jean said behind the camera is so powerful that I'm going to tie this into her words behind the scenes, not visible, not screaming, look at me, but just being humble, being herself, being genuine. The words she said out loud for us to consider, be authentic. Fergus Falls is authentic. Herb Brooks, I'm sick and tired of these other communities because they're authentic in their own way. But we're so authentic here that the passion I share, I don't know if you're going to find someone in a different community that says there's Pat Conley here. That's our challenge, is how do we be real, be authentic, be genuine, be ourselves, and then at the same time let those that we're around know that they're being seen, they're being heard, and they're being valued.
And the word empathy comes to mind when you talk about that as well.
Yeah.
So to be authentic in how we act, and then even in structures, in our businesses, in the brick and mortar that we do, and how we treat people all the way through.
And I think to kind of tie it all back to the Dairyland podcast, Dairyland has been authentic from the beginning, which is why you sit here today and tell stories of 28 years ago or 30 years ago, and why people still come today with those same feelings, memories, expectations that they're going to have the same experience, because it's an authentic experience. You're authentic people, and people really appreciate and value that. So thank you, Pat, for doing this, doing what you do. I know there's changes in the future for you and Jean, and it's going to look and feel a lot different for everybody in the community, but thank you for all the wonderful years and memories. And I started today by talking about memories where I could hardly see over the top of the booth, and now I feel like I don't hardly fit in the booth. So that might be life stress, right?
Right.
But appreciate everything you've done, and
Awesome.
This has been fun.
So
Cool.
the next time when you have 400 people here, invite us back, okay?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Well, we have a citywide venue to do that at.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
Sign me up. Let's
Yeah.
go.
So I ended last week. Last week I ended it with "That's a wrap, Jack." So let's end it that way again. It's a wrap, Jack.